So to join him on stage will be the co-founders. We said something at the beginning that there is a company that runs an online apprentice shop, right? And we'll be joined here by the co-founder of Adela, in person of Iyinoluwa Aboyeji. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up on stage. Now, this session will be very practical, very, very practical. There will be no, it all started well and became rosy. Thank you very much. There will be no, it all started well and became rosy. We want to hear the truth, the story, the truth behind the storyteller. They will just be here. Me, I'll be here. Like I said, they're the bosses and the one working for them, so it's fine. Basically, they'll be sharing with us. How they got to where they are today, running technology businesses that are driven by the internet and are running millions of dollars every year. So please, once again, put your hands together for Toba and Iyinoluwa. So then you just check the microphone. Hello. Good. Can you hear me? Okay, so can you just bring the other handheld for Toba then? Since his mic sounds really loud, can we get the other handheld for Toba, please?
Okay, maybe I want this like this.
Okay. Great. All right, so Toba, can we meet you in 1 minute?
Okay, my name is Toba Obaniyi. I'm the CEO of Whogohost Limited, rated as the largest hosting company in Nigeria. With 8,000.
Thank you. With 9,000 plus clients and growing. Just briefly, I'm a graduate of Iyinoluwa University. Oh, thank you. Yes. Now, like most students, I'm interested in some of the things that I said today actually reflects my life story. Because when I went to school, the first off, I studied electronic and electrical engineering. Why? Because my dad one day said, "What do you want to study?" I didn't know. He said, "Electric." That's all. So I went to school studying electric because I'm a good boy. And the idea was that I wanted to get first class so that I would move into the industry, work, make money and all. And the interesting thing is that, well, I almost got the first class, but almost doesn't come up. That's another story. And after that, interestingly, I got out of school and I was waiting for NYC. I wanted to do something, and I tried there, but nothing worked. Some people asked me that, I need to design a website. And then it hit me, I have no skill whatsoever. I had a wonderful certificate, but no skill. So what did I do? I learned how to design a website. Learned on my own, how to website. And interestingly, along the way, while I did that, I got my first job from a friend. I never designed a website before. He paid me to design the website. I remember at some point I won't go work because I'll be pacing around trying to figure out how to get the thing done. Look, that I was mad. But I eventually did it. Well, it wasn't the best job, not really, but it was a start. I made my first, I think I got 50K from that job. Now, along the way, I met with Okwe, who, of course, co-founder of Joloba. And interestingly, we started conversations from there because I started something on my own. Along the way, we got talking. I went for NYC, got back, we got talking again, and eventually I got involved with Whogohost. Okwe started Whogohost actually this way. He was running Innovate Nigeria, a web designing firm, and of course, when you design a website, you need to host it. Am I correct?
Yes.
And then we realized that why, hosting else, why not just host it myself? So we started Whogohost. Whogohost was simply a reseller just to host his clients who he designs websites for. We started as simple as that. But now, obviously, just like Facebook, I'm sure a lot of people know the story of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg didn't plan something really elaborate. He just wanted a network where people could socialize and all that. And eventually it became what it is. That's what the story of Whogohost was. It just was something for his clients, and it went. a business in my life. Me. Can you see me? Okay, I saw something that resonated with me, which Okwe mentioned, which was the fact that, sometimes we don't necessarily have to be the person who starts it up, but you meet with somebody else. And so I turned that idea, which at that time wasn't really much of an idea, it was just a reseller thing, to a proper business. Now we employ quite a number of people, and we are building a structured business from something that started probably in his bedroom. And so one thing I would like to say is this. We've had questions of people who say that when opportunities don't exist, you create those opportunities. Start with what you have. Start with the little you have. There was a time I was the only staff of Whogohost. I'll pick the calls, I'll answer tickets, and when I respond to tickets, I'll say, we will get back to you. Creating the impression that we are more than just me. But today, I'm seated here because somebody else or some people else are out there responding to tickets. I don't need to do that anymore because the business has grown. And that's the idea. Start small, grow big. Wherever I went to was my office initially. Now we have an office. But of course, this will still keep getting better. We're not even there yet. We've not started. But the interesting thing also, somebody mentioned something about competition. When we started, there were other Nigerian hosting companies. What I would say to that is, look at what the competition is doing and ask yourself, what do you want to offer that is different? In our situation, we realized that people didn't trust Nigerian hosters because most Nigerian companies that were hosting were doing it as a side business. So usually the business won't grow beyond one guy. And so if the guy is not available, you're on your own. And so one of the things that we ensured, one of the most important things for us was building a strong and dependable customer support system. And that was what made us from nothing to become the largest. Interestingly, if you check the charts, we have 34% of the market share. That is incredible from almost nothing. And that just shows that if you have something unique to offer, before you realize it, you even beat those that you met in the game. Thank you very much. I hope I take too much time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for him one more time. Now, something very interesting that you mentioned, which I will have continue from, would be you started off as and you are the call center, you are the techie guy, you are the businessman, you're the accountant, you're the salesperson, you are the office. Now, did you have similar experience when starting Adela?
Okay, so for me, I certainly, I'm good, right? Yeah. So I did, unfortunately, or fortunately, I wasn't the only one. I had a team. I had co-founders when I was starting Adela, and even here on the ground, I had a team of people. So in many ways, I'm kind of like the other kind of person that Okwe talked about, which is I tend to be the one who goes, I look for talent and people who are passionate about the same kind of problems I'm solving. And I use my network and my experience to help guide the dream on a piece of paper to some kind of reality. So I had a team. I have 3 other co-founders. They're all Americans. And on the ground in Lagos, when we started, I had 2 colleagues who worked with me to start Adela. But what I try and do is with those people, I make sure that they're the absolute best at whatever it is that they're helping me do. So I'm not a good accountant. I did it at one point, but I eventually had to hire someone to do it. Had to hire someone to one of my co-founders helped train the developers. I program a little bit, even though I run a programming thing, but my colleagues are much better at it than I am. And they were the ones who ran the training program. So I'm more collaborative in my approach. Let's put it that way. These guys are geniuses, so they can do whatever they want. I'm really dumb. So I like to help other people. I gotta help people for me.
Yeah.
So that's it. Did I answer the question?
All right. Now, looking at how the business terrain is in Nigeria, a lot of people find it difficult to want to have young people work with them. I heard a young lady say earlier that I have the skills, but do I really need a certificate? Now, what would be your perception? If you could just answer and pass the mic to me. What would be your perception really about certificate versus competence?
Okay, first off, I understand that struggle. During the period in my life where I wasn't certain what I wanted to do, I got a CCNA certificate because then everybody was getting CCNA certificates. Aside what I read, I've never done anything with my hands as far as networking was concerned, but I had a certificate. But when I finished, notice something. I stumbled across somebody else because I was doing something. Now, in my humble opinion, as of right now, aside the CCNA, I don't have any other certification, and I've not yet presented my BSc anywhere yet, and I don't plan to. So I don't need any certificate. What I needed in my situation were the skills, and the skills were self-taught. And I think that that should be the most important thing. Let me give you an illustration. I'm an employer of labor, so definitely when I see someone that has a certificate in this and that, it will pique my fancy. But then when I get, and interestingly, as I already said, at some time I was the marketer, the sales, the accounts, the developer, the everything. So I have an idea of almost every part of this. So when I sit you down, I will drill you so badly that you wish you hadn't put that you have certificate in this. Because I have an expectation. So if you have a certificate without the skills backing it up, it's completely useless. You will actually even be disadvantaged because you'll be a higher expectation. But if you don't have the certificate but you have the skills, and somehow you put on your CV the things you've done with those skills, I don't think employers will be more interested in that. That is why, if you notice, most employers don't ask for, okay, well, let me give you an illustration. I have friends who went abroad and got their masters, and they are still looking for jobs today. Because what? A friend, a very, very close one, did a master's in mechanical engineering. But when he's looking for a job, he has the qualifications, but they ask, it's a minimum of 3 years working experience. Where does he get that from? But he has the basic, but he doesn't have very important ones, which is the skills. In fact, guess what? I'm sure if he has the skills, he can say, I have 3 years there, 2 years there, 1 year there. You would beat the person that has masters with no skills. So I think that if you have your skills and you build your CV properly to push your skills, I think employers are more interested in skills than certificates. Thank you very much.
So, for me, I don't even have to make an argument because, well, Adela is currently 92 fellows in Lagos and 9 staff, and we do not look at any CV. We don't care. People try and submit CVs to me in all sorts of ways, very interesting ways, send it to my aunt, my sister, my brother. I don't look at them. Because I've never looked at your educational background. We don't look at your certifications, nothing. And so interesting stat about Adela, and just to give you some background about Adela, everybody talks about an apprenticeship program. But what Adela actually does is it finds brilliant young people who are interested in becoming world-class software developers, and then we train you to a level where you can work with international software development teams. And then we place you through the software development teams for a period of 3.5 years, different kinds of teams, different kinds of experience, while we continue to train you. And the idea is in 4 years, you can be CTO of ETOP's company, or you can come and take over the CEO role from this guy, because you're that technical. And I know Shola said that you don't need programmers anymore, but hey, it's programmers who created the platforms that allow you to make apps without having to learn programming. So they'll always be one step ahead of you. So that's what I do. And a lot of people in our selection process, it's a very interesting selection process, because a lot of people expect that we're looking for people with a first class, people who already know how to program, but our tagline is literally no experience required. We do not want anybody with any kind of experience. We don't want you with any kind of training. And why is that? Well, the first thing we realize is that, for example, OAU currently has the highest number of students in our program in terms of where they come from. But not one of them has a degree in computer science. Not one. Roughly 50% of Adela fellows do not have any degree in computer science. think we have just about 33 that are in computer science and computer science related fields. The 3%. So what we've learned is that the educational system that many of you come from, Nigerian educational system, actually doesn't give you the kind of skills that you need to excel in the global, work environment that we're preparing you for. So we'd rather just take smart people who are a little bit unsure of themselves and can learn than take people who have some kind of training or experience that we cannot verify the purpose of. And so we don't believe in any kind of certification. When you come with it, it's for your pocket. You don't look at it, you don't care about it, and I think that's the attitude you should have. You should try and be world class by learning on your own or through the help of other people. And most of these certifications, frankly, they're just scams. That's just true. So don't take them too seriously.
Thank you very much. Now, if you have any question whatsoever, if you have any question, please just write them down. I know we've said we should tweet, but while you're tweeting, for those who are watching online, you can tweet at the Edge NG, and we will have your questions asked. If you're here in the hall and you want to have any question asked, please scribble down those questions, and when it's time for questions, we will call upon to ask the questions. Now, back to Toba. Nigerian young people are very enterprising. Take it or leave it, we have some of the best hands who are enterprising. But the problem that has happened to many of us who are startups or who want to start up something is the fact that we are not structured. We don't even know how to break into the mainstream of what we're doing. Because we're enterprising, but we're not knowledgeable enough to actually break into mainstream. Now, what would you say was the one thing that set you apart for Whogohost, that made it easy for you to climb step by step, pedestal by pedestal? Now we're going very practical now. So you can take like 5 minutes each to deal deep on this. Step by step, it's telling your story. How did you take it one after the other? Getting from a nobody in the real sense of it to becoming Nigeria's largest hosting company. And how did you grow from being, before you became a poacher, before you became a poacher, you had to go through some process. So what was the story from Iyinoluwa, the guy next door, to being Iyinoluwa, the guy celebrated by Forbes? Man.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wish I had quick points to make it sound easy, but it wasn't easy. The first thing is this: as I said, I have no experience, I've never run a business, so I made some mistakes. Well, so I'll start my story, as I said. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Whogohost was a subsidiary of Innovate Nigeria. Innovate Nigeria was a web design company, and so Whogohost was just something that was just making some money for Innovate Nigeria. So when I and Ope started discussions, I noticed something. Ope is a quick entrepreneur. Ope can come up with this idea and start. But when it comes to maintaining, growing to the next level, Ope will think of something new and start, and something new and start. And my strength is management, managing and growing. We have a very wonderful combination, you notice? So he starts, I manage, I grow. So the first thing I said is this: I looked at Whogohost, I saw the potential, I said, one thing we need to do is separate Whogohost from Innovate Nigeria. Whogohost has to stand on its own. And so we did that after some arguments, of course. We argued a lot. It's really fun. We agreed that we did that, so we made Whogohost stand on its own. At that point, Whogohost was still just myself and Ope. And after some time, Ope needed to focus on Java Man. So Ope became Java Man, and I was stuck with Whogohost. And now at this stage, what I focused on, I'm just giving you my own, what's my life story. What I focused on was growth. So, as I said, my vision was this: we have a lot of Nigerians who host with foreign providers, the likes of HostGator, Bluehost,
rack space, and the likes. And my question was why? I asked the question because we had Nigerian host providers, and I realized that the support was terrible, the services were terrible from reports. And if you go to Ireland, you'll find so many of such stories. And so what I wanted us to have was, I wanted us to offer value. I wanted to compete against Hostator, which is funny. So what did I do? I started trying out their services. I checked out the mode of communication the support team gives. I realized that they offer 24/7 support. Well, I was the only one, I couldn't do that one yet. But I noticed the way they communicated with the clients. The fact was that their support team was interested in resolving the problem. You didn't get the impression that you are disturbing me. Instead, you felt that the person was happy to resolve your problem, and there was quick response. So that was what I started working on my own. So that means that when I'm on the road, I receive a phone call, I will ensure that there's no background noise, and I'll speak very nicely. Hello, this is Toba from Whogohost. How can I help you? And the person, oh, hello, blah, 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 blah. And I'll respond, we'll get right back to you. The we is me, and I will get back to the person. But I created an impression of something larger than life. And one interesting thing happened during that period. There was a fight in Ireland. Which one is the best hosting company? And then I saw someone say this one. Someone said that one. This is like 2-3 years ago. And then someone said, no, Whogohost. Like so only one person. I said, you understand? Perception is key, really. And I realized that people needed to trust. Well, you could say I deceive people a bit, but I actually tried my best to ensure that the perception I gave, I met up to it. So that means I was so hardworking. I tried as much as well to respond to tickets as quickly as possible. Of course, I grew my skills. I learned how to manage servers. Please don't be mistaken, Whogohost is not a reseller. We manage all our servers. We have over 16 dedicated servers, and we manage them ourselves. But at that point, I started learning how to do it. Now, situations like come up. Remember I said, okay, I want to say this. In my personal opinion, the reason I started this wasn't because of the money. I wanted to make a difference. We talked about the fact that Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that, and then we expect the government to be the change. I have this mindset that we are the change. We can make a difference. So why do people have to pay foreign providers when they can pay Nigerian providers? Why do people have to have a perception that it's only foreign providers that can provide this? Why can't we? So that's all my focus. And this is the thing. Everybody wants to be rich. Well, of course I want to be at least very wealthy, but money is value. What's the difference between 5 naira and 1,000 naira? They're both notes, if I'm not mistaken. Probably they go through the same process. But what makes the difference is the value they represent. And so if you really want to be rich, you have to first give value. That was important for me. And so value was what I was looking after. And so at some point, we started having some issues with our providers, with our data center. They started having some, and this is the other truth you realize. Even foreigners have issues. Even foreign providers have issues. So our foreign provider was having issues that was affecting our service. And immediately I realized that we needed to provide quality. So what did we do? We had to look for an alternative. Now the alternative was more expensive. The alternative was sure that we have uninterrupted service was more expensive. But because we wanted to have a quality that was high comparable to other foreign providers, we went for it. Now, what I noticed most Nigerians will do, they'll go for the cheaper version because obviously you want to make money. But we prefer to go with the more expensive one so we could give the quality that we're looking for. So that was the next step. And guess what? Initially, the previous provider we're using did most of the work for us. But these new ones, what they did is only servers. They will give you the server or you have your own. And that was the next level that was scary. Because that means we had to, and if I not only that, we had to move sites on our own. And I'm talking about over 1,500 at that time, sites. And it was a scary experience. I've never done it in my life, and I didn't know if we should go about it. But we needed to get this thing done, and we went about it. At that point, what happened at that point is this. We will look for, in my case, when you have an intern, just somebody that's looking for something to do, bring the person in, or the person to speak up phone calls.
And now we are growing, right? But at the time we only last for a while, so I quickly look for a replacement. The reason I look for instance, I couldn't afford to pay a full staff. But at that time, the word of mouth was or is currently the biggest success story we have, because we realized that when people enjoyed our service, they told others about us. I made an impression of Nairaland. People were fighting for us. We were not the ones fighting for ourselves. People were fighting for us. And that also proved to me that we were doing the right thing. And so we continued at that pace. We grew. We didn't in fact, I preferred not paying for rent and instead paying for servers to ensure that we give clients the very best. Because most clients don't even come to our office. In fact, out of all our clients, we've probably seen not up to 1% of them because they don't really come to our offices. All they do is make payments. Then the next thing we did, we tried to think of how to improve the way of making payments, improving the service. After some time, when we started making some money, then we started employment, then we created departments. We created departments and employed departments. In my humble opinion, what I really did, it wasn't all thoughtful, but because naturally I'm this kind of person that I'm a manager in nature. So as we grew, I just started coming in and I started putting them in place, employing. Now what I did is in my case, I employed very, very smart people who could do more than one thing. So you could see the HR is the admin, is the accountant, then support person is both general support, technical support, you understand? And me, I am admin, server, technical, general, accounts, everything. So when this one's not available, I fill in the space and all that. But as we grew, we kept growing also. We kept employing people to assist with the numbers. And as I speak with you now, Whogohost has over 15 people in employment. And our support team is growing. Right now, we run 24-hour support during weekdays, and we're planning to run 247 in a very, very short while. Now, what we're trying to do is this. As I mentioned, we want to have value. We want to compete with the others that have been there for a while. But we do it slowly but surely. Initially, I was just a little person, but as growth came, the money wasn't for me. So the next thing that happened when we hammered wasn't to buy a brand new car. The money was to employ. The money was to grow. The money was to add more value. Continually add more value. If you go to our site and compare us to any other hosting provider, you will realize that even beyond hosting and domains, we offer several other services that can be used alongside your hosting or your domain. So we kept looking for how can we add more value. So in this case, even while we are the largest in Nigeria, we are not sitting and saying that okay, we have arrived. The next step is how do we become relevant on the global front? Let's start with Africa. What else can we do? So one of the things that we're doing now, we sell all African CCTLDs. We have over 400 domain extensions. We sell security solutions. We offer several other services that are not just localized to Nigerians alone. Our target is no longer Nigeria. Though Nigeria is very, very important. But our target is no longer Nigeria. Think of how to grow on a global scale. But everything started with this small, with just myself, and with the vision, and with the goal. And this is what I would say generally. Growth starts from deep within. You know, when you have a vision, and when you have a dream, in my own humble experience, you start with that little that you have. And you know, there's this thing about grace. Okay, let me not preach here. But there's something, when you are doing the right things, when you are solving people's problems, you will not lose helpers. I found myself surrounded by people who bought into the vision, who saw that what we're doing made a lot of sense. And before I realized it, these people sometimes will even go beyond the call of duty. These people were not paid the best of salaries, but I have some staff with me that have been with us for 4 years, and they don't have any plans of going anywhere. Because as the company grows, we grow too. They want to be part of the success story. I think one of the other challenges we have with our current generation is that we want to get rich fast. You understand? A lot of us want to be like our colleagues with white-collar jobs. You know, you go to work 9 a.m., you come back 5 p.m. Well, if that is your cup of tea, that's fine. But if you want to step into the sphere that we're talking about, there's going to be a lot of sweat and blood. Sometimes when there won't be salary, sometimes when you have to. Okwe and I, there was a time that we shared bikes. We used to share bikes, you know, try to go to clients But this has changed, and we've not even gotten to the peak. And as things are going, we begin to enjoy, and we look back. I mean, sometimes when I think just a very few years, we've not been around for up to more than 5 years. And you look around, I know that obviously the growth won't be at the same rate anymore. And we realize that, when I start getting calls from international partners, I start seeing people from all over the world reaching out to us, and I realize, where did we start from? From just a reseller account. So, in my opinion, it doesn't always have to be thought through. It doesn't always have to be perfect. But once you have a vision and you have the dream of building value, it's only a matter of time. But of course, credit goes to the fact that eventually I started learning, building myself. I have surrounded myself with also people who have gone ahead of me. I ask questions a lot. I also joined the Leadership Academy, learned a few things about leadership, and I guess in a nutshell, that's all about. I know it's messy, but that's how messy it really is. There's really, in my opinion, it's not usually, when you see people say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I wish that was that simple. But in reality, you feel here, you stand up, you try again, and go like, that's why it seems messy, but that's my story. Thank you.
15 minutes. I gotta make mine one, right? I certainly don't have as interesting a story as Toba, right? For me, what I'm just gonna do is do themes, right? Because there's no need to bore you guys with the details. But I started this. It's very easy to see the success today and believe that this is how it happens. They got lucky. He had a foreign education. That's how they do. But it wasn't like that, right? Started this 8 years ago. This journey of entrepreneurship. And I think the first thing is don't listen to your parents. Yeah, sorry. I'm just like I'm pretty blunt. Ogo was trying to be nicer about it, but I basically, one thing I've learned is don't listen to your parents. The big thing you have to understand is that there is a seismic shift in how the world works, right? Your parents lived in an age, many of them were alive when the internet was a thing. Many of you in this room were born just about the time that the internet was created in 1991. It's not a long time ago, we're talking just 20 years or something, right? And so you live in a completely different age. And so the first thing was, my parents wanted me to be a doctor, I was an engineer, and the first thing I learned to do was to have frank conversations with them about the fact that I was going to do what I thought was right for myself. And that changed over time, which is the other. When I started out, I went to school here in Nigeria, and then I had an opportunity to go to Canada. And I saw that as a very, very good opportunity. It was actually pretty random. I was supposed to go to school in Nigeria, and then my brother thought, my brother had agreed to get science. I was a very rebellious kid. So I said to study law because I wanted to study science, and I had the sports for it. And I said I wanted to study law, so I dropped out of the science classes in my SS1 third term, and I decided to go study government and stuff like that, because that was what I was interested in. And after I did that, it was time to go to university, and obviously my parents were like, we're going to invest in the one who did science, and not invest in the one who did arts, because if you did arts, you clearly know what the investment in foreign education. But my dad changed his mind at the end of the day, and I'm really grateful to him for that, and decided to send me aboard with my brother. So we went to school in Canada. But when I got to Canada, the way I thought about it was that I was on borrowed time. So I basically made sure I took full advantage of the education I was given there. In my first term, I did all the required courses to get into university, even though I was supposed to do it over 2 terms. Because my thinking was, well, they sent my brother, they didn't quite send me, so I better do it before they change their mind. So I did that, and in the next term, I decided to look for work experience. That is so critical to my own story. I have worked, of my 8 years, of the past 8 years, I'm 24 right now, right? Of the past 8 years, I have worked every single year. Every single year. So since I was, you're calculating at me, 16, I've been on the job market. What was really interesting about my education was that I went to a school called the University of Waterloo. And the interesting about the University of Waterloo was that it remains the only school in the world that gives academic credit for work experience. So there's no other school in the world that does it. They tell you guys to do IT, but they don't grade you on your IT, right? Is there any school where they grade for IT?
Yes.
They grade, like there's a score, 90%.
Yes.
Not that, okay, that's interesting. But basically, for me, IT was half my degree. So to graduate, I had to have 2.5 years of work experience. So this was IT on steroids. And so I took that opportunity. I worked at the United Nations. I worked with BlackBerry. I worked with a whole bunch of VC firms. I worked for a bunch of very high growth chat companies that look like WhatsApp today. And because of that experience, I was able to learn a lot of skills. A lot. I was able to make a lot of mistakes. I was able to network with a lot of people. And that is the backbone of how I became successful today. So very often when I see young people rush into entrepreneurship, I think it's inspiring and it's good for you to make those mistakes, which I have myself, but do not undervalue work experience. Now, what kind of work experience is valuable for you? I really just want to make this a story about my life. I really want you guys to learn something. You know, Ayo told me I should not come and tell tales. I'm here to tell you what's up, right? What's real. What kind of work experience is valuable for you? Working at a bank is not valuable for you. Working at an oil company is not valuable for you. However, there's a caveat, which is that it really depends on your boss. When you are, many of us here, is anybody here under 20? Okay, thank you. But majority of you is over 20. Now is the time for you to build that solid foundation in work. Right? In work. You have your education. What you need to do is build a solid foundation in work. And for those of you who are under 20, you need to start building, getting some experience, any kind of experience. But from 20 up, you need to start building a foundation in work. And that means that the most important thing to you right now is who is your boss? Who is your boss? And most of the time, what you find is the people that actually make sense for you to work with are not middle management staff at some time, who are just going to park orders at you and make you feel stupid half the time. But you need to work with somebody who's visionary and trying to grow something, right? They are trying to build something important. They are trying to add value to the world because you learn a lot from them. And even me, I'm still in that process. So my co-founder, Jeremy Johnson, is one of the most inspiring people I know. Started a company called To You. And prior to To You, started a bunch of other companies, but the company is very well known for its To You, which is a company that builds online platforms for some of the top universities in the world. The company is a publicly traded company worth $1.23 billion today on NASDAQ. So he's 30 years old, right? So he's not 50 years old, he's 30 years old, right? Younger than the youngest ever person there. And how Adela started was that he had been mentoring me for a while, and we got together in New York, and he told me, I've been thinking about this thing, what do you think? And I thought about it, and I was like, here and here and here are the fixes, and this thing can work in Nigeria. And he was like, well, let's see. And I did a test run. And so, which brings me to the last point, because I want to be fast, and if there are questions, I'll take them. But nothing good comes easy, and nothing is instant. And you need to learn to start small. I saw a lot of questions on the Twitter feed about, you need to, who has capital? Let me tell you the truth. Adela was started on zero capital. What did I do? I went to an aunt who I had worked for. Can you see why working experience is important? I worked for her, and I told her, hey, I'm thinking of starting this training program for people who want to be software engineers. I have a lot of good friends who have good experience at this and this and this companies. Can I borrow your empty BQ? And she's like, yeah, sure, you can. And that was where we held the first boot camp. Right? We held the first boot camp there. I put out an ad saying I would pay people if they would come and learn how to program, which is exactly how the program works to this day. And I did not have the money to pay them. But I knew that if they had the skills, we would go on OLANs and E-Lands and ODES, which is where we started to source our jobs. And if they had the skills, we could teach them the skills, we could make money. And if there are people who wanted to build websites, or people who had any kind of projects, we would be able to do those work for them and make money. So that was how we started. Because money does not just appear, right? Even with the government of Nigeria, and this is the biggest problem with our generation, is that we have been indulged in an economy where we don't actually see the products, right, that is used to bring in the revenue that sustains the economy. How many of you have ever seen oil before? Raise up your hand. How many of you have ever seen crude oil? Don't lie, though. It's not engine oil, it's not the same thing. How many of you have ever seen crude oil? Many of you do not know what crude oil looks like. So many of you think money just appears, but no. There are people, highly valued engineers, many of them expatriates, who fly into this country and millions of dollars for doing so, and actually go and drill oil. And they put it into barrels and ship it abroad, and the money drops in the federation accounts. And that's how you hear all this billion they are always stealing. Right? But every single dollar comes from value. And the moment you understand that, that alone can change your life. Because it means you can never be poor. So long as you have this, and you can learn, right? And you can learn how to create some kind of value. And everybody can do it. Even people without hands can create value. Right? And you can create value and you can make money. But the question is, if you're looking for money first, you have the wrong end of the equation. And that's the problem. So, to summarize, because I don't want to get into a sub-story, but I started Adela in my aunt's building. I did a boot camp for 15 people. People progressively dropped out. We were left with 6. Those 6 we put to work almost immediately. At the point, my aunt obviously told us, it's time. And I knew you had overstayed your welcome, and I went and I went and borrowed my father's friend's office. That the last time he had used it was in 1992. So it was a year after I was born. In Fadi. How many of you have been to Fadi before? Fadi, that's where we were. People who came in for the interviews were like, are we sure this company is a company? Because it was in the middle of nowhere in Fadi. But that was where we started, and now we have 92 developers in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Yaba, right? We have 9 developers in Nairobi. We have over staff strength of over 130 people. We've raised over $10 million from international investors, right? We send the people, the fellows, we call them fellows, we send them all over the world to train, to come back. In fact, 4 of them are in the States right now as we're talking. Why? Because they have skills, because they have something of value to people from all over the world. And that's really the secret. The secret is, number 1, don't listen to your parents. Serious, about career stuff, don't. I'm serious, right? Some of them might have insight, but make decisions for yourself. Number 2, don't undervalue work experience. Don't undervalue work experience. And number 3, everything good will be hard, and you have to start small. And number 4, if you want to add it, all dollars come from value. All dollars come from value. Thank you.
All right. 20 minutes we did. Please put your hands together for Toba Obaniyi one more time. It's been quite insightful. Please, if you have questions, like I said, kindly just scribble them down. No, we would not take questions by passing microphones. I already made a mention. Have them written down. They will take their seat. After the next item, that will be gathered together, and then questions will be asked so that we can make the most of the time. Toba, it's been wonderful having you here. Thanks for coming to be part of the second edition of the Edge Series Summit. And E, great guy. Please put your hands together for them one more time. Thank you so much.